For our last part of this project, once we've got our flag glued into the middle of that really big white paper, then we're going to have to come back and use some of the original background that we painted. Now you have a choice with this. You can either carefully rip it into fourths, as in 4 pieces, kind of like I did, or if you want nicer, cleaner edges that aren't torn and jagged like this, we can put it on the paper cutter and I'll cut it nice and neat for you. But it doesn't matter which you decide, because after you're done, we're going to take that piece of paper and we're going to glue it around the edge of your flag, kind of like this. So I haven't added glue yet. I've just kind of stuck this piece in there, and I've got a piece of my orange paper that's kind of sitting behind my flag, and I've got another piece of my background painting that's over the flag, and that's okay. And with pieces of paper this big, sometimes it's a little bit easier to kind of just set it in place first, and then use a few dots of glue and stick them down. And whenever we use pieces of paper and we either cut them or we tear them and then start to glue them on, we call that a collage. And we're going to be using a few more pieces of scrap paper for our collage here in just a second. Now you might have to press and hold and count to about 10 to get some of that glue to stick. Point, maybe it's a good thing to notice that it's okay if you've got some of your paper hanging off the top of your project, but you also notice that I've got my longest pieces of paper on the top and the bottom of my flag. I'm saving the shorter sides for the left and right hand side of my flag, and I'm going to glue those on right now. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to kind of figure out which way this piece is going to look best, and I'm kind of thinking it's going to look the best just like that. So I set it down, and then I'm going to come in and add a little bit of glue and press and hold until it starts to stick. Got my right side done. I'm about to add this last piece on, but I definitely wanted to take some time and show you just a quick reminder on adding your glue. We don't need a ton of glue, and in fact using too much glue is going to make our project kind of a mess, and using more glue than we actually need, just those few dots, is kind of wasteful, and that's why we end up going through a lot of extra glue. Press and hold until it starts to stick. Then you're going to have to go find some paper from that black basket. Right, I've got my pieces glued down. Everything is sticking really well. I haven't covered up too much of the flag. We want that flag to be the emphasis on this picture, meaning the thing that stands out the most. So we don't want too much of our collage covering that Jasper John style flag. Now over in that black basket, you want to pick up about 2 pieces of our magazine paper. And we're going to use this to kind of collage over some of the leftover open spots, kind of like this area here or this area down here. Now this is really important because if we use too much glue, this part can be a little bit more difficult, because what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up kind of tucking some of these pieces of magazine paper underneath the pieces of our background painting. And with these, we're actually going to end up trimming them later, so if yours is a bit bigger, kind of like mine, and it's hanging off the edge, that's okay, because we'll trim it once our glue is dry and we've got everything added on, covering up the majority of this white paper that we used in the background. So again, I stick it in there, and I'm going to keep using my dots. If your glue bottle's not working, pick off that dry glue from the top. Remember to open up the orange lid, and dot dot, not a lot. So these magazine pieces are, some of them are kind of smooth and kind of glossy, and it might take a little while for that glue to start to stick, but once you've got them stuck and they're sitting flat, you're good to go. you have any pieces that are about this big, go ahead and put those back in the black basket. Stuff smaller than that, kind of like, you know, it might fit in the palm of your hand, kind of like this piece of paper. Go ahead and collect all those. Make sure you check the floor. And let's put these pieces that are smaller that nobody's actually going to use again, let's put these in the recycle bag or the trash can. We haven't added the stars yet. That's going to be the very last thing we put on there. But I'm kind of just going through my project right now and double checking that most of my collage pieces are glued as flat as I can possibly get them. We don't want stuff that's just kind of flopping off and hanging out everywhere. And another thing that I want to definitely double check is to make sure that I've got my name on the back of this big white paper. And at this point, before we do the stars, let's let some of that glue dry. So carefully carry it with 2 hands and walk it over to the drying rack, and I'll meet you over there and help you put this big piece of paper in our drying rack, and we'll take care of the stars here in just a minute. Alright, so we got our project back, and now we're ready to use some of these sponges to add a few stars. Now we're not going for the full 50 like the actual flag. We are going to have to share these at our table, but just like before, kind of hold it with your fingertips on the side of your sponge so you've got that flat area right there. And although I don't have a paper plate like you do, this little piece of plexiglass is going to work the same way. So I dip, and then I dab, and make sure that I've got all my pieces of star covered with paint. There we go. And then I'm just going to press, kind of like a stamp. I managed to get 9 stars on my Jasper John style project. So when you're done with your sponge, the last person at your table, please go ahead and put these in that silver bowl that's sitting over there by sink number 3, just like we've done in the past. And your paper plates with your paint can go in the garbage can, and paper towels can go in the garbage can as well. And last but not least, go ahead and carry this piece of paper with 2 hands again, and I will meet you over by the drying rack and help you put it in there.